Hey everyone, welcome to Nerds Talk. I'm Mike.
I'm David.
I'm James.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are finally at the end of our Star Wars Complete Skywalker Saga review, where we have just watched Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and now we will be reviewing that for you in totality. With that being said, today we are sponsored by Casamade. They're the ones who have made these awesome mugs with their vinyl creations. They're a Canadian company that personalizes and custom vinyl creations. From our casa to your casa, their products are custom designed to meet your style and personality. Visit facebook.com/Casamade. That's facebook.com/CAZAMADE. Whether you're looking for something unique for yourself or a gift for someone else, Casamade has something for everyone. And with that, as always, we're going to go through and do a spoiler-free just overview of what we thought of the movie. Then we're going to jump into full plot spoilers. If you haven't watched the movie, I definitely recommend you don't watch this video until you've seen the Star Wars movie in total, or watch the beginning and then come back and watch the end of it afterwards. And then at the end, we'll go ahead and rank the movies as follows. So I guess who wants to go first to give our overall without spoilers? Anyone want to jump in?
I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
I enjoyed it. There's a lot of question marks and a little bit of worry and apprehension to see how they were going to end it, what they were going to do. I think they did a good job, so I'm happy with how the film went. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I also enjoyed it. Tied up a lot of loose ends, again, being the final trilogy of the trilogy. Some question marks in terms of choices, but overall, I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be honest, I don't think there was any shot I wasn't gonna enjoy it. Just having that fan service that I knew was gonna be coming. And again, yeah, like you said, kind of tying up some loose ends and questions that that we had. I knew I was gonna like it regardless.
Yeah.
Having like the Star Wars fan bias.
Yep.
There's definitely some things that I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
They went that direction. Okay, like there was a lot of those moments,
Yep.
but again, I mean, you leave the theater, you're happy still. So
Yeah.
So I mirror the exact same. I enjoyed the film. Definitely thought it could have been better. The easiest way I can say it is I came out watching The Last Jedi with a much better emotion than I did coming out of this film. So if that kind of says a lot. I did enjoy the film. I thought there was a lot of things that could have done different just to make it a little bit better. But we'll get into that in plot spoilers. But overall, yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think, I mean, one word that stuck out to me while I was watching it, and when I could tell it was kind of coming to an end, was just the idea of safe. It just felt like everything was done in a very safe, cozy package.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe some of the other ones took some other risks.
Yes.
That this one could, like, there was a lot of times in the movie I thought like, oh, is this going to go somewhere else? And then every time it would do that, it would just kind of curve right back to like, okay, something's safe, something that is not too risky that the fans will like. So
I agree completely.
But yeah.
All right, so now we're jumping into our full spoilers ahead part of our review. Again, if you haven't watched the movie yet, please stop the video and come back and watch this part after you have. But what we'll do is we'll go through the plot as best as we can, and we'll discuss specific scenes and what we like, didn't like, and kind of speculate from there. So with the movie, we open up with the crawl, which is kind of interesting in the way that it kind of sets up the movie with basically Rey is self-training in preparation for, I guess, the fight ahead. It talks about what was it? A voice being heard, being Emperor Palpatine. So it just tells you.
So that really shocked me right away. I'm like, oh wow, like they're just gonna like. This is a full story. There, I thought the movie would kind of bring, they start hearing these voices and investigate that way. But right away, they already say that they hear voice of revenge and it's Palpatine, and like they just go straight into what I thought half the movie was going to be.
So they opened it up and just said, yep, we heard Palpatine's voice and it's kind of going out. So Kylo's going to investigate because his goal is to
destroy anything that might threaten his power.
So we kind of come down and we start with, I guess, Kylo Ren is in the middle of this, looks like a battlefield as he's on his way to find what we find out to be some sort of like
Wayfinder?
Wayfinder. That's the
Wayfinder.
That's supposed to lead him to where Palpatine supposedly is. You see him do this kind of get through these woods and do what we saw in the trailer, you know, kind of chopping his way through. Nothing super exciting. It was okay. The battle, it was what it was. I didn't think there was anything really cool from an effect perspective. But
it just showed how strong he was, which we got to see in The Last Jedi, you know, taking on multiple assailants at one time.
That's right.
A little bit of like a moonwalk as well.
Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna come backwards and slide.
Yeah.
The thing I noticed too is that like between them showing like Rey meditating and his destruction, and them saying that, like setting the table with the voice that was heard was Palpatine's.
Yep.
Right off the bat, I felt like a lot of my imagination went out the window. Like any of my guessing of where the movie could go, they're just like, she's this strong, he's this strong. The voice was Palpatine. Go.
Yeah.
Right? Where that's
Exactly.
where they felt like the first act was entirely dedicated to.
That's it. That's right on the nose. So he finds the actual chart, kind of plugs it in, heads off on his TIE silencer or whatnot, heads off to a place that's basically called Exticle. Sounds like icicle, but it's with X.
Wait. It's not exticle. That's a condition. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was an interesting name. Anyhow, so he's heading off there to discover what's there, and I don't know if it cuts now officially to them in the Millennium Falcon yet, or does it show him get all the way there? I don't remember. Do you guys recall? Does it show him get all the way?
All the way.
So
and then
the whole
after
beginning. So he lands there. Blah blah blah. He gets there.
Down that.
He goes down. Yeah.
Goes down the shaft.
Because they do that cool cut where it's like the red beacon inside the compass.
That's right.
And then it's him
Oh,
going
that's
to the
right.
planet.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
So he's there. He goes down into this fortress type thing. Goes down this elevator.
It looked like an old Sith temple.
Temple.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Underground with all the statues.
Giant
and everything,
statues and whatnot. And so he goes down there, and then he sees these chambers, and then he hears a voice, and the voice is talking to him, and it changes from Darth Vader's voice to Snoke's voice to Palpatine, and he says, you know, I'm all the Sith. All the voices in your head was me.
I created Snoke. Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as he's walking through, he sees like a test tube chamber of like Snoke bodies in there, and
Which kind of so that was the first thing in the movie that like bothered me.
okay.
Was because when we first got introduced to Snoke, I know that at least for myself, and I think a lot of people online too, when I was looking at the forums, they were kind of let down with like the anticlimactic demise of Snoke.
Yeah.
And so everyone had these questions as to like, who could it be? Like, what's his origin? This and that. And then they just kind of like, I created Snoke, tank of Snokes.
Yeah.
And then they just kept it moving, where there was like actually no, like I still don't know what the motive was for that. Like, why
did they create Snoke instead of just creating a clone body of the Emperor or whatever?
And
Like,
that's what I'm
what's
wondering.
the
Was
point of that?
was it a failed experiment of them trying to recreate it and they just couldn't, and that's kind of what they ended up with? Or was it supposed to be a disguise? Again, didn't
the only thing
it.
I thought is maybe because we know that like Palpatine, and this kind of goes into stuff we'll talk about, but like created a series of orders, right? Like
Plan A, Plan B, Plan C.
yeah,
something?
for if he died and all that stuff based on like other canon stuff or non-canon stuff, depending on how we look at it. But I don't know if that was one of those protocols or anything that he put into place where it was just like 50,000 Snokes, and if that doesn't work, a million ships. But anyway,
The only thing I could do to try to make sense of it is, again, drawing back on episode 3 when he's explaining Darth Plagueis to Anakin, and he's talking about how he learned the secret to cheat death, and he supposedly learned this secret. And is that the secret is create these bodies and transfer your, I guess, essence or life force or whatever into them? I don't know, but you know, I know that in the expanded universe there was talks of him having cloned bodies, so I guess they kind of drew on that. But anyway, so he basically tells Kylo Ren that he's got to go and kill Rey.
He first tells him that there's the final order. He brings up all the
Yes,
ships
the
from
final order.
ice. It says you can have pretty much the keys to the control room if you do this one thing, and that is to find Rey and to kill her.
Yeah. And so Palpatine, when it shows him, he's missing some fingers. He's all decrepit. He looks like he's blind. You know, he's all deformed. He's literally strapped to some machine, like some marionette. That's what I kept thinking of him, just floating there, like Matrix style.
Yeah,
Plugged in.
exactly.
Okay, it was what it was. So then we cut back and we see kind of Poe and Finn and stuff on the Millennium Falcon, and they're kind of flying through some icy structure, I guess. I'm assuming it's a remnants of an Imperial ship or First Order ship, because they're trying to get information from a First Order spy, and it's kind of, they land and plug into some port, and some guy transfers the information, and then they take off, and they're being attacked by TIE fighters, and so they do some quick maneuvering and whatnot, and they kind of escape. and they make it out of there. So that's the next kind of scene, and then we kind of flash back to Rey, right? Right on point. And Rey is basically self-training in this forest, who's supposedly being trained by Leia, or tutelage of Leia. And so she's doing some obstacle course and fighting and doing all sorts of stuff, and kind of see, okay, she's kind of come much further than she was in Last Jedi, and she does this whole thing, and then
and that's when I think we get like it's first implied at that point that Leia is more than what we've known so far, because she refers to her as even master at that point.
That's right.
Which we know she can't do unless obviously there's more.
Yeah, Rand hands the lightsaber back and says, like, you know, I'll be worthy of it someday, kind of thing, or I'll take it someday, but just not now, or whatever it is. And they have this conversation, and they kind of go back, and then I guess Finn and Poe and all them arrive, right? And so they have the message, and then they find out, yeah, it's true. Palpatine is alive, and you know that all the rumors are true, and we've got to go find him and whatnot. And so they kind of come up with this plan, and I think at this point they talk about I don't know if Poe has the name of the planet yet, because Rey, yeah, they do, because then Rey goes through the books and sees that Luke was trying to find the place, right?
That's right.
She was right on that chapter.
Yeah,
right on it. Here it is. Boom. So she goes to the text and sees that Luke was kind of tracking them down and stopped the search at a specific planet. I can't remember the name of the planet, but it was some weird cultural divide of aliens that look like what we would call like people from probably India or Middle East, right? With the dancing and the celebration and
yeah.
So anyway, so they all decide they're gonna go out and go, and so Poe and Finn are all like, you know, we're coming with you. We're gonna do this as a team. So they head off, right? So they head there. In the meantime, Kylo Ren and the I think they have like a meeting, right? Him and I guess the new troop. He gets his helmet repaired by a chimpanzee looking dude.
Yes.
with Dobby ears.
With Dobby ears. Strange
crossover.
They're fixing everything. So yeah, he gets a new mask. He kind of goes on the ship, and he confronts, I guess, the new council of the dark side, or of the new the final order. We'll call them the final order at this point. And so he's talking to them, and some people are thinking, you know, his ideas of what to do next, or whether they think he's like on track or not. And he senses Hux has some sort of emotional, I don't know what the word is, but basically he's struggling with something
about his helmet and stuff.
I feel like that whole scene was just to like, it was supposed to give us like almost like a Vader moment.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, oh, here it is. He's the new thing. He's going to show his power. And sure enough, the guy was like making comments or whatever, and then he chokes him and slams him up and just be like, yeah, you're nothing.
Yeah.
It was what it was. Kind of move the plot forward. At this point, I don't remember if they ended up getting word about them arriving on the planet. But anyhow, they get word at some point. Not yet? Not officially yet? Okay, so we cut back to them being on the planet. Poe, Finn, and Rey and all of them arrive on the planet. And so they're heading down to... amongst this party, right? I'm not missing anything right now, right?
Yeah, they're looking for the other waypoint, because they found out that there's two made, and then
correct.
The
they're
other
looking for a ship, and then they meet a contact in which they get the name of the guy, right, that they're looking for. I can't remember his name now, Tito or Tebow.
He was a Jedi hunter or something.
Yeah,
is that what they said?
Yeah. So they're looking after this guy. They made a contact, and then during this point, they find the ship. Right? They meet up with... Actually, do they meet up with Lando yet?
Yes.
Yes, they do. So they meet up with Lando. That's right. Yeah. So they go there. Kylo realizes that they're there. And I can't remember if it's due to a flashback, them connecting and talking, and then you kind of see something.
Because he
grabs her necklace. There we go. So they have another one of those Force connections. They're talking to each other.
Is that the first time they introduced that? I can't remember.
Well, in Last Jedi,
take something. Like,
yes, because there was water that splashed on him.
Oh right.
But him physically like grabbing something to like, oh, like we're more connected than we see, and then obviously then later scene when we see them do lightsabers, it's the same thing. Yeah. So he grabs the necklace. Then he has them research it and finds out this is the planet they're on. So he asks the locals. I guess he has people there to go after them. And sure enough, there's a stormtrooper there, and kind of gets them at gunpoint. And then sure enough, they're saved by what looks like some sort of bounty hunter guy. Takes off the helmet. It turns out to be Lando. And so you have a conversation, and they were talking about, I was here with Luke. This is where we last were. And we met up with some guy, and it kind of became a dead end. He couldn't find the waypoint. Is that what they called it? Wayfinder. Yeah. So they kind of head back. Rey kind of decides to go back to the ship to take a better look. So they kind of head out there. They steal some speeders, right, to head out. And of course the First Order, or Final Order at this point. I guess it's still First Order. Chases after them, and they get into this.
We get a new enemy.
Yes, the jet troopers.
Jet troopers.
The backpacks.
They can fly.
Yeah,
they
they
can fly
can
now.
fly, yeah.
They can fly now.
So they had some interesting scenes there.
Yeah.
Lots of gunfights and whatnot. And
Also a new toy.
That's
yeah.
exactly what I was
That's
thinking.
exactly
That's the only thing that they made.
They
that
still have
for
a
is
terrible
new toy.
shot.
Yeah.
But
That's
new
it.
toys.
So they make it alive. They survive. They find the ship. They head to the ship, and then we kind of see Rey sense something. She kind of comes out, tells Finn she'll catch up with him later, and kind of senses that Kylo Ren and something else is going on. In the meantime, he tells Chewbacca to go out and get Rey. We got to leave. While they're getting everything set up, they run into Dio, right, the new droid on the ship. And while they're trying to get the ship running, Chewie heads off to go tell Rey that they're ready to go, and we see some of the Knights of Ren, I guess, essentially ambush him, right? So he gets captured. So Finn and Poe see this, they freak out, they go tell Rey. In the meantime, Rey, we see from the trailer, Rey starts running, Kylo Ren's TIE fighter comes flying in, she does a flip, breaks the wing off, and then they tell her, like, they got Chewie. She uses the Force to stop the ship from taking off, and then Kylo comes out to flex his muscles and starts, like, fighting with her, trying to let the ship go. Go ahead.
Did we go into the tunnels?
Was this
That's
the tunnels
after.
already? The tunnels are after,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Oh
No, I think it happened before.
Well, this is
They
where
were
it's
That's how they
hard.
get the-
So
that's
it's
how they
hard.
get the-
Jump in.
Okay.
Jump in.
After they beat the jet troopers, they fall
Yeah,
into
and then
quicksand
they
kind
get
of.
exploded. Yeah, the jet troopers explode their speeders, and they end up in this quicksand basically, and they get sunken in. Finn wants to say something to Rey, but then he conveniently goes under.
Yes.
Does he ever finish that?
He never
No.
did. He never did.
Never. I know. Yeah.
What's the point of that when they don't even finish?
Yeah,
It's like they forgot about
I
it.
thought the whole movie. Even one point, I turned to Mike and I go, "He knows something."
Yes, he does.
That I thought was going to be like something Leia had told him.
Yeah.
Or so,
Nothing.
nothing.
No. So
They
you're
don't
right.
even use that. They don't even use that as like
No.
an intentional like cliffhanger. Like at the
Yeah.
end, like we still get no resolution to that.
Yeah.
But anyways,
So yes, you're right. So they fall through the sand. They're going through these tunnels, and then they end up at some sort of serpent-like creature, right?
And they
So
find
Well, they find the dagger.
they find the
Yeah.
dagger there as well, and the
Has
dagger
the
has
Sith
Sith writing.
inscription, yeah.
C-3PO is able to recognize it, but is not able to translate it. Something to do with his programming.
programming language. Yeah.
If he was to translate it, he would shut down or memory erase or whatever
It was forbidden, I guess.
It was
in his
forbidden.
program. Yeah, he just couldn't do it.
So then then the snake appears, whatever, and Rey, tells them to kind of put their weapons down without saying anything, and walks towards it and sees that it's injured and goes and heals it with a Force, which is the first time we see her do that.
Yeah.
Basically, completely heals the wound. The snake, I guess, calms down, leaves, and then there's an opening for them to escape out of these tunnels. So they have the dagger, right? And then they decide that they're gonna have to go meet up with a character to read it, right? So then this is where they go to the ship.
Yeah.
To decide to
that's-
get out of
yeah.
here because they can't go back to the Falcon because the First Order is here,
Right.
and that's when the whole escape happens. So
Yeah.
they're fighting over the ship while it's escaping, and
Did
Rey's
you not
getting.
get like? Wasn't that in Star Killer? Wasn't in that? What game was that with Star Killer?
Force Unleashed.
Force
Yeah,
Unleashed.
yeah.
Didn't he take down a full
Star Destroyer,
Star
yeah.
Destroyer?
Yeah.
I got like reminiscence of that, even though it's not canon now.
No, but
I was like, oh, that's so cool.
That is
She
so
brings
cool.
down the whole ship.
So we do that. She gets really angry at him because he's like, it's almost like he's toying with her, like, you're not going to win. And then she lets out a burst of Force lightning out of anger. So she has this dark side in her, and Luke talked about it in Last Jedi as well. So she's shocked. The ship blows up. She thinks she killed Chewie. We later find out that he's actually alive. So,
Which I don't know.
well, it turns
That
out he
was-
was on a different ship. Supposedly.
Sure, like
Okay.
Yeah.
just convenient, but like it's not like I don't know.
There
Yeah,
were
he wasn't
two
explained.
shows there as well, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we only
But
saw
I
one
know.
and get onto one, and we saw one take off.
Yeah.
I guess just convenient editing and cuts that made us think there was only one, but they should have.
Yeah.
It was what it was.
Like even if they just showed like 10 of them in a row and then that happened,
Yes.
it would have been like, oh, he was on another
He was
one,
on
but
the
we
wrong
only ever
We
see
only
the
saw
one.
Yeah.
I thought there was two.
Was there
ones-
two?
Yeah, there's like one there and then there's one a little bit in the.
Oh,
I
I
didn't
think
know
so.
there you go,
there
Could be
you go.
wrong, I think.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So conveniently he's captured, but he's alive and he's taken to the ship. And this new admiral, do you guys remember the guy's name? The new admiral, the new guy with the
Pride. Isn't it Pride?
Sounds right.
Yeah.
So he basically commands them
Some of that.
to go like torture him, get information out of him, whatever.
Can I actually ask you
Jump in.
something?
Yeah.
Am I wrong to say that I would have been okay with Chewie dying.
I thought he did.
It would have been a
die. I was like,
surprise.
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. Like, I'm not
That
saying
would've
like
been
it
the
like
shock
from an
value, like, oh my
emotional
God,
level. I don't want him to
yes.
die.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay.
That's a risk.
Like-
That's,
Especially
that's
with
something
it
you're
being
not
the
expecting.
last movie.
Yeah, but I think they wanted some emotional impact because if everyone died in this movie, then it would have been like, oh, who's left to mourn, right? And I think maybe that's why. Because I don't know, for the rest of the movie, was there anything that he did that was like only Chewie could do it, other than flying the Falcon at some points? Like, I don't think there was anything that you stood out with.
But see, that's again one of those times where I felt like, oh, they curved it back to safe, where it's like they didn't have to have him like still be alive.
Correct.
Didn't serve any real purpose other than like it felt like it's like we don't want to upset anyone too much. So
Maybe the
it's
plot
like,
point for them to split up with Rey when they got the ship. Maybe that was.
but they still had like Finn and Poe doing that. Like,
correct.
I mean, I don't know. I just felt again. I was like, oh, okay. They've added something that they don't typically do.
Yeah.
Cool. Like went straight Game of Thrones and just like axe the guy.
Yeah.
But then it's like no.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
no worries. So that all happens. So they now again, fresh from memory. Do they go and save Chewie before they go down to the planet to no?
No, so they go to the planet first
Babu
and
Frick.
meet.
Yeah. So they're looking for Babu Frick, and it looks like the whole planet is basically the First Order is there, and they're searching for people, and they're recruiting. They wanted to get more people, right?
Oh, yeah,
The army. So they're going door to door and all this stuff. So they're kind of hiding, and so they're looking for this Babu Frick. They get held up by this person. I don't know if you guys have the character name, but basically that bounty hunter looking chick who's Poe's. Basically, Poe used to be part of this group, this
Zori Bliss.
gang. There you go, Zori Bliss used to be part of this gang who were spice runners.
Yeah.
Very similar to Han Solo, who used to do that smuggling, right? And so he left them to join the resistance, and they never forgave him. So she wanted to kill him. And during this confrontation, Rey kind of knocks her down and whatnot. And they're
I also noticed a very like Han and Leia vibe between Rey and Poe.
Yes.
This movie specifically,
Yes.
which
Fighting.
wasn't really there
Yep.
as much as it was just with them like constantly going back and forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did they really have much interaction before that though?
No.
Yeah.
Last Jedi they
So
met at the end of
that's
the
the
movie.
first
Yeah.
time at the end when she
Yeah.
lifted up the rock. She's like, "Oh hi."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like that quick introduction to each
Yeah.
other.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, long story short, Zori Bliss is going to help him get to Babu Frick, who's the guy who's basically, the plan was, C-3PO said, if I was to translate it or whatever, I lose my memory. Like, let's do that. Let's crack his head open and get the information. So they go to Babu Frick. He explains to them, like, while he's doing this, like, there's probably no way to recover his memory. He'll be gone forever. They talk about R2 having a backup, but C-3PO says, but his stuffs are never trusty, so we
He's
can't
just
trust
talking
that.
smack about R2 like he always does.
He always does.
I thought
does.
C-3PO was actually quite funny. This
He
They
was.
the
they
first
used
half
him more as
comedy.
a
Yeah,
comic
comedy,
relief
yeah.
in this one.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
oh, I know you didn't ask, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm
He called
okay.
my name, but
I'm
not-
still here.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
So Babu Frick's there, and he's looking at his friends one last time, trying to get that tearjerk moment. He gets shut off, and Babu Frick's doing his thing, and then he comes to after some dialogue between the Rey and all of them, and his eyes are red now as he's like, I guess, translating the Sith code or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that explains the red eyes, right?
Yeah.
So he's doing that. He tells them where that there are two of these things and where the other one is. Oh no, he tells them the name of the planet officially right now or something like that.
So he tells him he does tell him where the other Wayfinder is. Yeah.
That's right. So
Now I had an issue with this part too. See, that would have been a lot like him that tearjerk moment of looking at your friends for one last time. It would have been a lot more meaningful if they killed him off without being. I thought they were going to get rid of Chewie, get rid of C-3PO. Like they're not, and
this is the last battle.
C-3PO
There's
did not
gonna
do
be
anything
casualties.
either, right? Like these are characters that you can get.
Well,
rid
he
of
did run
halfway
with
through the movie.
Chewie's bowcaster at one point,
Yeah.
which I thought for sure he was going to use it. Like, yes, he's going to kick butt. No.
Yeah.
No.
So I was a little disappointed with the Chewie part and the C-3PO because I thought this could really like put some meaning and oomph into the movie and get some
Yeah.
be like, oh man, these characters that I grew up knowing are now gone or whatever, and now it's just like, okay, well you just reprogrammed back up, so now what was that? Oh, looking at my friends behind.
And even that's the thing is, even with C-3PO, I would argue him more than Chewie would have been. I think everyone would have been a lot more comfortable with, because it would have just been like a droid that got reset, and then it's like, who knows about all the other adventures now he's going to store in his database. Like it is what it is, right?
Makes sense
but
to me.
yeah, but I agree. The minute I saw that they were going to do that too, they didn't kill Chewie.
Yeah.
they got all the memories back to C-3PO. I'm like, okay, anytime that something's gonna go this way, I just know it's gonna resolve itself. Yeah.
So they make their way to the planet where the thing is, where it turns out to be the crashed Death Star is on it. It's a moon near Endor, a different moon.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Force moon of Endor wasn't where it is. It was like a similar different moon or something like that. So they head that way and they land and crash landing because their landing gear doesn't work.
Yeah.
So they're there, and so they land, and so they kind of meet up with these horse riding.
I'll tell you one thing though. If I ever get in a plane crash, I want someone from Star Wars to land that thing.
Yeah.
Every
time.
Damn episode they crash.
Yeah.
No, I'm okay. I'll just walk out. There's no problem.
Yeah.
We'll just fix it.
Yeah. Even
skilled pilots.
Yeah.
even like the destruction that Kylo went through when Rey cut his fight, like that thing, they didn't even make it seem like it just kind of crashed. It
rolled, like it
rolled, and then it exploded, and he just like
walks out. Like
not even his clothes burned, man. That was impressive.
Almost pulled a loop there.
Yeah.
So before they officially went to the planet, Rey went up. Well, they all went up to go save Chewie, right, in the ship.
Yes.
Yes. And so Rey ends up kind of splitting off with Poe and Finn as they're going to go rescue Chewie, and she is called to something, so she kind of goes on her own way, finds herself in Kylo Ren's den or whatever he calls
it.
Chamber. Whatever.
And the Knights of Ren had followed them to that planet.
That's right.
Yeah.
So she's in there and she's going through the stuff. Sees the Darth Vader mask, gets called to it. We get flashbacks to her in the movie as well of her childhood, of like her, being left behind and all that kind of stuff, and screaming and whatnot. And what else do we see there? And then of course Kylo Ren, who's down on the planet, is looking for her. They have that connection again, and he's trying to figure out where she is, and then they end up having this lightsaber fight. So they're going at each other. He tries to explain, like, I know who you are, who your parents are, have their full story, all that kind of stuff. So they start fighting. The lightsabers are actually clashing. So again, they're like more connected than the average person.
But they can't see where the other is. They can only see their
own surroundings, right? And then until they both knock over or explode the
burnt Darth Vader helmet.
Yeah, and so he sees it fall, and then he goes, "Oh, I know where you are."
Yeah, the helmet lands in this planet that he's on.
Yeah, and so he's like, "Okay, I'm coming to you," and so he takes off to go find them. So they get Chewie. They are running through, blasting. Chewie gets a stormtrooper gun. Meanwhile, on the ship, they give 3PO the weapons, right? They're like, "However, you take this to Chewie or whatever." So he's got the bandolier on. He's got the gun, and he's all heading off. I can't remember who gives it to him.
Ray.
Was Ray that gives it to him?
Yeah, she goes back to the ship and asks if they're there or not, and they're not. So
and then she sees Kylo coming in.
That's right. So she's waiting for him.
Yeah.
He goes off, and so they get captured by a bunch of stormtroopers or whatnot. Kylo and her have the confrontation.
They're going to be executed. So Poe, Finn, and Chewie are all lined up. And General Hux is there. That's where
he shows up, and he's like, "I want to do this myself. Give me your gun." And so they're all lined up, and then what happens? He ends up killing all the stormtroopers, and we find out that he was the leak. He was the mole.
Which I kind of
very Agent Callus.
Yeah,
in Rebels.
When he had that issue with Kylo Ren, when there's that Darth Vader scene where he's with all the new head of tables, like just the interaction between them two. The facial expressions and everything seemed like
they both wanted to be leader.
Yeah, and they both hated each other from the first movie.
Backstab and do do something to.
Well, and you saw that in The Last Jedi whenever he's on the ground unconscious and he almost sees it, and then he wakes and he's like, "Oh, okay."
He's gonna try to kill him.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he's the leak, and like, "Oh, so why? Why would you let us go? Why are you the leak?" He's like, "I don't care who wins. I just don't want Kylo Ren to win."
Yeah.
Again.
So
he wants
him to lose.
Yeah. So he just hates him enough that he's like, "Screw all my beliefs." Everything.
Yeah, I don't think that they gave him enough of a motive. Like
it
was. I don't know.
I think it's because if he's gone out of the picture, then
that he can take over.
Exactly. Then he will be the leader.
He'll be.
Yeah.
Would he be the next guy, or would that other guy that I don't know?
I would assume the other guy, because the other guy seemed to be more of the leader. Because even he goes and shoots him.
I don't know if
seems...
Hux really realized that or not. How connected he was.
Yeah,
how close he was.
Cool, and he was speaking directly to Palpatine.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be someone like in disguise or something like that as well, but it wasn't. Anyway, so where are we at? So they get out. So they escape. Finn, Poe, Chewie escape
back into the Falcon.
That's right.
And that's when they go to the planet.
And that's when they head off to the
that's
planet where they meet the horse people. The people riding the horse creatures, anyway.
The yaks.
So they land down, you see the busted up Death Star. Sorry, go ahead.
But isn't that where Rey and Kylo Ren get that communication of who she is?
Well, they talk about
before
it.
she jumps onto the.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does he officially reveal who she is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah,
he
because
says the
then
name.
she starts crying and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she
Because
jumps
she's
onto
right
the
on the
Falcon,
edge
yeah.
of the loading dock area for the Star Destroyer.
Okay, so he officially reveals that she is
Palpatine.
That's
Yeah.
right. So Palpatine's grandchild.
Granddaughter.
Yes.
Supposedly, he had a kid somewhere who also had a kid. Palpatine knew
What
about
happens
it.
in Vegas?
And, and so the dagger speaks to her as well, and so she gets her memory of the guy that killer, whatnot. Basically, used it to kill her parents,
Yeah.
the parents that were hiding her.
Yeah.
Now, were these parents Palpatine's? Was that his son or his daughter?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, supposedly he had a
so.
son, and then
And so that was them. And so he just
and they
wanted
sold
the
her
To protect
to
her.
protect her and
Yeah.
to pretend to be no one.
And so he captured them, asked where it is, killed his own family to try to find her. Anyway, so that's the story. So that's her background. She's a Palpatine. That's what she's so strong in the Force. Doesn't explain in Force Awakens how she's able to just,
Absorb
connect.
all the
Boom, I can
Jedi.
use a lightsaber. I thought if she had Skywalker blood, maybe they could talk about the special lineage. She didn't. So she's just strong like Palpatine. So she just knows how to use it. Didn't. I didn't like that for that purpose. It just didn't answer Force Awakens. How did she beat Kylo Ren so easily? Was she using the dark side? She didn't look like it. She looked like she was calmed down and in peace. So I don't know. That was a little weird to me. I don't mind that she's Palpatine. But I just didn't mind that. It didn't connect with Force Awakens, I think.
Yeah.
And it didn't
And what is
explain
the
that.
connection? Like you were saying before, what's the connection between Skywalkers and Palpatine?
All we know is the light versus the dark.
Yeah.
That's all we know, right?
It's just odd to me that Kylo and Rey, okay, they have that connection, and if we're just, for lack of a better explanation, we're saying it's because it's Skywalker Palpatine, then when you look at the other Skywalker Palpatine relationships, they're not even close to what that is, where they're fighting each other in different areas.
All we know is that Palpatine is the ultimate evil, and Anakin was created as the ultimate good, the balance of the Force, right? And so his bloodline, which started from Anakin because he was created by the Force supposedly, is supposed to be super light. He unfortunately got corrupted with the dark side, got redeemed by Luke. So I guess it's just supposed to be uber good versus uber evil, because they talk about, I am the grandson of Vader, and you are the grandchild of Palpatine. So it's the same generation. I don't know.
And see, that's the thing. If we go down that road, then them just kind of saying that Rey's parents, who would be one of them, I guess they said that it was the son, right?
Yeah, I think
then he's just a write-off, he
Apparently,
should be,
because he said there
the
were
Luke
nobodies
of a Palpatine family.
But
Yeah.
I guess they said that they chose to be nobodies. Or whatever.
They knew about him. It's I don't want to be anything like him. I don't know. It was what it was. They had to fit it in a movie and had to have an answer.
Because for them to get killed, you would imagine that Palpatine then obviously knew who his son was.
Yeah, of course. And
And
said,
then-
go after them and find out. It's I hid the kid and we're not telling you. Hence the flashbacks. We're not telling you where it is. So he killed them.
Yeah.
And I guess he was on the lookout.
Unsung hero, that dad there.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Hero movie.
Trying to
That's it.
trying to cut that lineage.
So she pulls out the dagger, and finds this little piece that opens up, and it's sort of this little convenient key. Very Goonies moment. She looks through the thing,
Yeah.
lines it up with the broken. It just happens to have the exact same shape of the Death Star that just happened to break. It was too convenient, but
Yeah.
she finds out. Okay, that's where the next sorry, what's it called? Wayfinder.
Wayfinder. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's located. So the sea is crazy. It's on the water. They're we can't make it today. We'll go tomorrow morning. And she's I can't wait that long. And suppose well, we have no choice. Let's go repair the Falcon. They all head off to go fix the Falcon. And then where's Rey? Where's Rey? And she basically stole a
Skimmer.
Skimmer's what they called
that's
it.
what they said,
And basically very Moana. Let's go after this giant wave and let's go.
What was it, Maui a Wayfinder? There you go. We got everything.
It's everything in here. So she guns it to the Death Star, and then we cut. She makes it inside, and she's climbing, doing her scavenging thing, and making her way through to get there. And of course, Finn's we have to go after her. And then his friend, this newfound friend, the girl, I can't remember her name.
Joanna.
You can check that out. Says, there's another skimmer. And so conveniently, they just jump on the skimmer, and they have the exact same skill without the Force to just navigate through these dangerous waters and make it to the Death Star.
Yeah.
Maybe she has some training.
Well,
I don't know.
I guess.
I know. Yeah.
Finn kept saying, I have this feeling, or I have this Force. So
I thought they were going to open it up to be he does have some Force sensitivity. He's going to be the next Jedi or something.
Yeah.
But again, they just left
They
it at
kept
that.
hinting
They
at
just
like
left
he
it.
could feel the force. Like later on, he's like, "Oh, this is the shit."
And
that
she
needs
could
to be
feel it.
done."
And I'm like, oh, are they brother and sister? They were both taken.
Yeah.
Well,
Again.
she might be related to somebody, but we'll get to
Yeah, we'll get to that as well.
Yeah.
So Rey ends up making her way to the Emperor's throne room in the Death Star. We see the chair, we see the window,
which I really like. One of my favorite
was
scenes
cool.
in the movie.
Yeah.
That
Just
was
that
cool.
like broken down.
And we hear the
throne room.
music of Palpatine building in the background, whatever. And then just randomly this door opens, very Force and whatnot. Walks in and it's very much like the cave that Luke finds himself on Dagobah with Darth Vader. And she goes in there and she finds the Wayfinder and then kind of gets this Force vision, this whatever you want to call it, apparition, where a dark version of herself is there with the double-bladed lightsaber that we see in the trailer.
Cool.
Shark teeth.
Yes.
The
Shark teeth Rey.
Oh my god.
Hashtag Shark teeth Rey.
So they start fighting and whatnot, and she's like, I'm you, or this is who you're meant to be, or something like that.
Don't fear, because one point,
Who you are, yeah.
Leia said, "Don't fear who you are," and then she used that against herself on the dark side, saying,
That's right.
"Don't fear who you are."
That's right. So you get into a fight, and then
She gets knocked over.
she gets knocked over, and then all of a sudden, Kylo Ren is there.
Picks up the Wayfinder.
Which
Yeah.
I love that
Just shows up.
that Rey and Finn just like go through these treacherous waters, and then he's like, "So I'm gonna go ahead and just fly
He
over
just
that
flew
and
and
land
right
here."
on there.
He knows exactly where the throne room is.
Yeah.
It seems like this is the first time he's been there, because it's the Death Star, right? He found the Wayfinder somewhere else, and he just makes his way right there. And so he's in
But
the
he
throne
did
room.
say that he knew where, because he had a conversation with Palpatine.
That's
saying,
what I
like,
get.
she's not
Yeah,
dead
oh,
yet.
where
He's
it
like,
is.
I know where she is, where
Okay.
she's going and stuff like that. So
That's fair. So they're there. They have their conversation. I thought this is where he reveals the more details, but you're right. It happened earlier. And so they have a conversation. And he talked about let's join. We know who your past is. Let's join together and kill him and take up the throne together. And she talked about wanting to take his hand before, but wanting to take Ben's hand and not Kylo Ren's or whatever. So they have the conversation.
they have a huge lightsaber battle.
And then they have which leads them to outside in the
Opposite, yeah.
crashing waves, which we see from the trailer. I thought this fight could have been way better. This is one of the moments that I thought this is the big lightsaber fight in the movie, if you guys agree.
Mhm.
And I thought Last Jedi's lightsaber fight was way better than this one.
Mhm.
I just didn't feel as epic. It was more just running and slashing. No finesse. If she's more trained, you get a cool couple flips, but other than that, it was just
It's like
slash,
rage
slash.
fighting kind of
That's
thing.
it.
Like-
Until you're tired out and he's kind of dominating her, right?
Well, I think that, I mean, this is me trying to defend it, but I think that in every other fight that we've gotten throughout all the movies, right? There's always, a lot of times there's an aggressor, and then there's someone just kind of playing defense, not wanting to go there. And here, while Rey seemed to be the more, I don't know, angry of the two in that moment, we know that they both don't really want to hurt each other at this point.
Correct.
There's a relationship beyond any of the other movies.
That's fair.
So it felt like even when one was in an advantageous position, it just kind of went back into there was even some times where they stopped,
yeah.
and then it was just so are we still doing this?
Yeah, but then he turns
bang,
his,
bang, bang,
Then
and
he turns the saber around, and then he goes at her. Where every time she looks at the saber, he knocks it down, knocks it down, knocks it down, knocks the lightsaber
And she was
out.
pretty exhausted at that point.
Yeah,
That's right.
and he just seemed annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have that moment, and then we cut back to
Leia. Well,
we cut back to the planet where Leia's on, and Maz Kanata, and they had this conversation. I don't remember who Maz is speaking
She's
to.
talking to someone else.
One of the rebels, or whatever.
Dominic, or the Hobbit guy. I think
Mary.
she's talking.
Yeah, Dominic. I can't remember his last name now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're having a conversation and saying, "Oh yeah, Leia has to do the
Use
only
all
thing
of
that
her
she
energy.
can to reach out
First
to
time.
save her son or whatever it is." So she reaches out with the Force, which again at this point we're just oh okay, is this believable? Well, we assume that she's trained, right? Uses the Force, reaches out, Ben, which she's done in another movie, so that's plausible. He hears her voice, kind of. I don't know. Does he turn off his saber at this point?
Yeah, so the saber's off,
Yeah,
and then hears the voice, and then he drops
it.
the
that's right. He
saber.
drops it.
Yeah.
And then she, I guess, reaching out to him or whatever, she dies. She falls on this bed or whatever.
Not
Just
yet.
not yet. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so the saber falls. Rey catches it.
Game of Thrones her.
Yeah.
That was after she died.
Yeah.
So
And then
yeah, but I thought it was after the moment of she died. So
No, as soon as the
Ben
saber
was
hit,
shocked.
that's when she
Passes.
put. Yeah.
Okay, so it was all within seconds. Of each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
So Leia dies. Rey ends up stabbing Kylo Ren through the stomach, and then Rey realizes, oh, Leia's dead. Right? She realizes
Yeah,
whatever.
listens
She
for
turns
it.
off the lightsaber. Kylo Ren falls down. We see that Leia's dead. Kylo Ren is dying, and Rey's there, and so she kind of gets up, kind of goes over to him, and then he heals his little wound.
Yeah.
Good.
I have a question though.
Yes.
I can't remember. So when she does that, because I know that there's a scene in the movie where she kind of just, I don't know, like dissipates into the universe and the cloth just kind of drops to nothing, right? Because you see for a while, like you see her figure underneath the cloth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that when she actually like disintegrates, that doesn't happen until later, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is where I get confused. So when Luke did the whole like fighting, where he was like meditating and fighting Kylo, and then he got exhausted, used all his energy. Just in that moment, he like went with the Force, right? Here, it's like she does that, but then she's still very physical. Like she's still, her physical form is still there, but she used all her. I thought it was going to be the same sort of deal where she used all her energy, and then she's also
she became
a Jedi,
one with the Force.
so she became one with the Force, and that was that. But they don't do that until later.
Yes. Which again,
I didn't think.
Or maybe she became one with Ben.
she was connected to him in another way. So yeah, that happens. Rey heals him.
Then she jumps in his.
She jumps in his lightsaber, his TIE silencer, TIE fighter, or whatever. Takes off because he has the Wayfinder and is going to head off to the planet.
And then he has a moment.
Yes, he does.
On the edge.
That's
Titanic.
right. So he's there. He's like feeling sad. Then he hears a voice, right? And at this point, Finn and all of them have taken off in the Falcon have left, right?
Yeah.
So she's there, hears a voice. It's Han Solo's voice. Turns around, he sees Han, and he's like, "Oh, you're a memory."
Harrison Ford came back from
because
one
he ain't no
last-
Force ghost. He ain't no Force ghost. But yeah, Harrison Ford came back.
I was surprised to see him actually.
Well, you did say it was his own memory.
He did
it's
say
not
that.
technically
That's
a
what they
Force
explained
ghost,
it.
But it's like,
Yeah, he's like, "This is your
He
memory."
was not transparent blue.
No, he was not.
Which is
That's what I said.
so
He wasn't a
that
Force
would have
ghost.
ruined it. If
Yeah.
it was a
Oh yeah,
Force
I'd be like, "How
ghost
is that
or-
possible?"
Yeah.
So they have a heart to heart, and he says, "No, Kylo Ren." So he's like, "Your son's dead." He says, "No, Kylo Ren's dead. Ben's
dead.
alive."
Yeah.
Again, symbolism. Rey killed Kylo Ren and then healed and I guess brought Ben back, or however you want to talk about it. Whatever it is, what it is. Kylo Ren then
Throws
tosses
his
his lightsaber right into the water, and he's essentially done with the dark
after
side.
having
at
like
this
a
point.
mirror conversation of the Force Awakens. I don't know if I have
I
to.
don't
show
It was
you.
exactly
I
the
don't
same
know
with
if
the
I could-
touch on the face.
Yeah,
Same
it
thing.
had like
and he
that
helped
symmetry with that,
everything.
and then
everything.
and
So-
then that's after that he. Yeah.
And throughout the whole movie, he was having like flashbacks. Like that
Oh,
was his
yeah.
flashback was of him killing.
The
him.
haunting of killing
Yeah.
his father.
And Rey was the parents and
Mhm.
her being left. So anyway, so he by him throwing his lightsaber away, it's his like, okay, I'm done with the dark side.
Yeah.
I'm
now
new,
Ben.
whatever. So he has no ship. The other guys took off. How does he leave the planet? Right?
Swam.
He didn't. Hey guys, can I catch a ride in your Millennium Falcon?
Skimmer.
Yeah,
Skimmer.
didn't
went a
explain.
long
He
way.
got out. He got out somehow, but whatever.
Well,
he gets out.
He landed in a TIE fighter.
He did.
when-
So he
when
just
went
he
to
went
the
through the
planet.
wreckage
So
and
he
found a working
some
TIE
sort of
fighter
TIE
after that huge
fighter.
crash. And it's like, this one works.
Hmm.
And it looked pretty darn clean because when it landed, it looked pretty new. Like it didn't look beat up or anything. So where does Rey go?
She goes to the island where.
Act 2.
Of green milk.
Yeah.
Yes. She heads off to Act 2 because, well, she has her own plan. She heads there to burn the
Burns
ship, to burn everything. She takes her lightsaber. She's going to go chuck it because she's essentially done. Because she already had a conversation with Kylo of her having a vision, right? Or was it with Finn?
Yeah,
She had a
Finn,
vision
yeah.
with
Yeah,
Finn,
yeah.
having a vision of her being on the throne, with
Kylo
Kylo Ren as the dark side. So she goes to Act 2. She decides to burn the ship. She grabs the lightsaber. She's going to toss it in the fire. And what happens? Luke's Force Ghost catches it. So again, confirmation. The Force Ghosts can connect.
I'm curious. What do you guys feel about? How do you guys feel about that? Did that?
Well,
like,
Yoda was the first one to well, I guess he summoned lightning. He didn't physically grab anything, but
Yeah, I don't think that would be real. I don't know, nothing's really realistic.
Yeah.
But it seemed weird.
because if they can do that,
The
then
Force Ghost
as a
and-
Force Ghost, they can just grab a lightsaber and start killing
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Like,
why
you can't
haven't
kill me, but I can
Why
kill
not?
you.
Yeah. Why haven't other Jedi
Yeah.
Force Ghosts come
Yeah.
back and helped out other Jedi's when they're in trouble?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was a miss where they thought that it was gonna be like we'd see that and be like, and
Yeah.
it just didn't. It didn't have that.
No.
We're just like, oh, okay.
What?
So
Yeah,
I guess
there's
that
a-
can happen.
Another question.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is new.
So here's where Master Luke comes out, starts having the Obi-Wan moment with Rey, And he's like, what are you doing? A lightsaber's like a Jedi is like so sacred to a Jedi, and you can't just do that, and you shouldn't trade it with this like lack of respect and whatever. And so she's like, well, I'm cutting myself. Well, she doesn't say I'm cutting myself off.
I'm doing what you did.
She's like, I'm doing what you did. I'm like coming here, staying here because I don't want to be as per my vision. I don't want to be dark side or whatever it is. So he asks her like, what are you afraid of? And she says, myself.
Yeah.
And so he said that he was wrong in being there, and they have a conversation, and it basically says like, I
think Leia wants you to get.
That's right.
She pulls a stone.
And
before that, he knew that she was a Palpatine, and so did Leia.
That's right. So he confirms that.
Why? Yeah. Because you're a Palpatine?
Yeah.
What? It's like, Leia knew that too. Yeah. She never said that.
So when
I had actually thought up until that moment that it could have been a lie. That
was like the confirmation of like,
and I think that's why they did it.
Luke's not gonna lie to you. Everyone knew. No one told you.
Yeah.
But it's like, but maybe it's another lie. Like her parents are nobodies.
Yeah.
So the lightsaber comes out, and then we get a flashback scene of Luke actually training Leia, and we get a cool shot of young Luke, Return of the Jedi Luke, and young Leia,
which did not look as good as young Luke.
No,
as accurate.
Yeah, Luke looked better than Leia did.
Yes,
but. They had to work with what they had. They didn't have.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, it was. That's the helmet, the whole fight, and then don't move.
It was kind of foggy too, like blurry for face.
That's what they made the environment.
They blew the budget on Luke.
Luke's
they got like Tyler Perry.
Yeah,
to play
Medaya. Yeah. So they had this thing. So it's confirmed. Luke had trained Leia. She had a lightsaber. She had gone to the point where she was at least a Jedi Knight, right? Because she had her lightsaber, they were fighting, whatnot, and then she decided that she felt, what was the thing?
She would lose her son.
Yes, she would lose her son.
Yeah, so it was a vision that she had.
Yeah,
and so she gave up her lightsaber and says like, I'm not gonna.
It says one day someone worthy will come and hold my lightsaber.
That's right. So. There we go. So that's how they explain Last Jedi and how she used Force powers, and this is how they're trying to why she's training Rey and how she's calling her master, because she was officially in canon trained now. She's at least Jedi Knight level, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Rey gets her lightsaber, and at this point I'm thinking, oh man, this is it. When she lights this thing, it's gonna be pink.
That's what I thought.
It's gotta be pink. They had it in books, they had it in Lego, they had it in also. I'm like, they're finally gonna have a pink saber, and later on in the movie, it's blue. Why? Why? They could have done anything at this point, and it was blue. I'm like, that sucks. They should have made it pink.
It's definitely something that they missed.
A special saber, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, my first instinct, I'm like, this thing is going to be pink.
Yeah. And I was going,
sure. I'm like, 100%.
You know how many toys they would have sold?
I'm telling
with
you.
A pink saber?
Yes. I know.
Tons. Huge.
You can just CGI that.
Yeah,
the DVD release will be
the
pink.
DVD Blu-ray.
Yeah. So we messed up this pink now.
Yeah.
So she's got Leia's saber, and she's got Luke's saber, or Anakin's saber, whatever you want, the Skywalker saber. And so she takes them with her, and they head off.
He tells her,
you have everything you need. She goes, I can't, everything is destroyed. And he goes, you have everything you need. So she goes to the ship, grabs the Wayfinder, and then looks out to the water. And what's happening is the X-Wing is being raised. And who's raising it? Not Rey. It's Luke. He raises it. Yoda. Yeah. Very Yoda. Just raise it. Has a smile on his face.
Something he's never been able to do until now.
That's it.
Redemption.
Yoda
it's a redemption moment.
Yoda had to finish the job for
it. So he brings the ship in. It's all like
instead of turn to a ghost,
rusted and like whatever. And okay. And then the next scene when she's flying, it's all clean and pristine, but like
she's got his helmet on.
That was cool.
Which was like
not really fitting,
a little big. I know it seemed really big.
Yeah. So she's taking off and she's heading straight for the planet where Palpatine is. Yeah. Meanwhile, all the rebels, Poe, Finn, all of them are rebels. Resistance are all on the planet where Leia was. They find out that she died. They come back. We need to speak to Leia. Oh, she's dead. Chewie freaks out. So it's, crying, screaming, whatever. Has his moment of mourning for her. C-3PO has a conversation with R2. He's like, I don't even know who you are, kind of thing. Yeah. And so then R2, right then and there, restores his memory. You're back to normal.
You're going to stick one in my head?
Yeah. You didn't even know me. So that happens. He's back to normal.
And then they also find out that Dio has the
correct. They upload him, and he basically was the droid for the guy, and so he had all the information needed to get to the planet. And funny, Dio is one of the only droids that, I shouldn't say the only droids, but one of the small buddy droids that that speaks English. You actually understand what he's saying. So they went a different route there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what happens now? They all see Rey. They see Luke's X-wing.
X-wing.
And so they're like, oh, R2 says he sent us something, a transmission.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh yeah, it's Luke's X-wing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, that's Rey. Finn just realizes it's Rey again, hinting at some Force connection, something going on there. And then suppose like, oh, she's leading us the trail. Let's all follow the trail. So they tell Lando, who's there, who ended up going there to visit Leia. He tells him and Chewie to get on the Falcon and go find as many people, as many planets as you can to try to find someone to help us fight.
Yeah. Send out transmissions. Yeah.
And that's it. And everyone else, let's go on this route and do what we can. And so he tells Finn he needs his help, that he can't run this by himself. So they're both generals now. They're both like the head of the Resistance. And they have this idea to do a air team and a land team to take out the communications tower or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, plans in action. So Rey's headed over there first. They're following close behind. Rey lands. She heads right into the temple, right? We're all copacetic here.
Mm-hmm.
She goes into the temple, goes down, sees the statues, whatnot, makes her way, and then she's in this huge like arena thing with all these people, which I thought was like Force ghosts or like it was in her imagination, but there were actual people like
I think
Sith
they were Sith, and
Just
that's
sitting
what
there?
like was mind blowing to me.
Yeah,
There
like
were,
so he trained all these
thousands of
people.
them.
Yeah, I don't know. It was,
Like,
and they did enough.
Did they even
when
have
I-
any faces? I didn't know.
No, it just saw black
they
cloaks.
just put-
Yeah.
So
That's
I
why I
thought
wasn't
they
sure.
were all clones of the Emperor, but
Which could have been, but again, we didn't see any faces, which is fine.
and then he said that they're all
They're
like
all just
Sith
botched
followers.
Snoke's.
Yeah.
Just all different versions of Snoke that didn't pan out.
But they didn't fight. They just sit there and they're all like cheering and whispering and chanting whatever they're saying. And so
Yeah.
Palpatine appears behind her. We see the big throne and he's talking to her and says, "Finally, you came. Her
I never
granddaughter.
wanted you dead. You're-
Exactly.
yeah.
I wanted you here. Now it's your job to like kill me, use your hatred, whatever, and then we'll become one, and you'll be the ruler." And she's like, "I don't want to be the ruler." And so they have this back and forth, back and forth. Kylo lands, right? Kylo comes next.
Yeah. Well, they opened up the skylight to
Yes,
show
yeah.
the battle.
I-
Their
okay,
friends are dying.
so the rebels are here first.
Yeah.
So
Go
are we
ahead.
going to assume? I don't know if this is a dumb question. I have my speculation, but the fleet, right, that Palpatine like presented even earlier.
Yeah.
Are we assuming that that is all post fall of the Empire, or was that in the works? Do you think?
Oh, I think it was in the works because he knew of this place. He had wayfinders. It was all like, I think this was like a plan B, right?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it probably if something went
Or maybe
wrong,
this is where
what
he
was
started the
gonna
creation of all the stuff at one point, and it was his own secret. I don't know, but I mean, clearly this is where his cloning facility was for his body, so it was probably secretive to him and how he. But also, are you telling me that since Return of the Jedi, all these years, let's say it's 30 years, 40 years, all the people that were there to man the ships and all the Star Destroyers were just living there?
But that's what
On
I'm saying.
They're all
That's what I
there
don't
season?
understand.
Yeah.
Unless they were just like they're dormant when the Empire was in power. They don't even really explain. Like he kind of has this passing dialogue where he talks about like how he's died before, and it's not like and we kind of go along with it, but there's no real backstory to that.
There's just one communication between Palpatine and that new Admiral guy, and he basically tells him like, now it's for our final plan or whatever it is. So that was the only conversation of like, okay, come to where I am,
Yeah.
and I guess here's the coordinates of where I am, because
And that general said that he did serve him in the past.
yeah, and that's why I thought, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be someone.
So like, did he like get everyone out of cryostasis and like just say this is
no
what's
idea.
going on now that the Emperor's been struck? Like, they left a lot of questions open, especially for a movie that's supposed to close everything and end the saga.
Because this planet's supposed to be secretive. Like no one knows. It's not on any maps, right? They had to get these special wayfinders to get there. And then there's this huge crew of people manning these ships and stuff. Yeah, it didn't.
And that's the thing is, I feel like there was times in the movie where there were things I would have rather have not been told so matter of factly that I would have liked my imagination to go, and then other things, which was the exact opposite.
Yeah,
like
where
that.
I wanted the answers to.
Yeah, I just want some sort of backdrop for this.
Like, how's this happening? What happened? Yeah.
Yeah. So the rebels arrive. The rebel, it gives you rebels. The resistance arrive. Poe, all of them arrive. They're gonna go after the what do they call it? The beacon communications tower.
Yeah.
And so the admiral is smart enough to be like, oh, I know what they're doing. Let's shut it down, and we'll
Use our
communicate
ship.
from our ship.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? This guy's gonna be Thrawn. This guy's gonna be Thrawn in disguise. His skin has changed because of some Sith magic, whatever.
Which
Which
did you
would've made
notice
sense.
at one point, like when
He was so smart and
There-
so calculated. I'm like,
when he was talking to Palpatine,
His
like,
eyes.
and the light
Yeah,
cascading to
his
him
eyes
and
look
stuff.
weird.
Yeah, and I'm like, because there was even like it wasn't a blue tint to
No,
his skin, but there was like
it's like
some
pale.
something that looked fake about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
watch this be Thrawn. He was in disguise, so no, none will be the wiser. You talked about him serving him in the past. I'm like, this would have been a cool moment to bring Thrawn to the screen. No, it was just a random guy.
Another random guy.
He was very smart, supposedly. So he sends the communication up. And so Finn realizes, they're shutting down the tower. They're going to go from the ship, whatever. Let's do what we got to do. So they decide to go land on the Star Destroyer with their horse creatures and ride on the Star Destroyer. Now, I had mentioned this to you in the movie. I was like, how are they breathing in space? But you mentioned, well, they're not technically in space yet. They're still on the surface of the planet.
And that was supposed to be the ground team.
Yeah,
even though they were not ground.
They're running like a ship. So they're going off, and their plan is to essentially disable this communications array while the airships are doing whatever they can to kind of keep the guns off them.
My first question with that, with the ground satellite that they have down there, why wouldn't you just shoot it? Do you need a ground team?
Exactly. Just didn't make sense to me. You have all these planes, just Y wings and everything. Yeah, it didn't make sense to me, but they wanted to make the thing, and they wanted the Sith troopers to come out and shoot because that's the only time they were used. They came out and they were fighting on the Star Destroyer.
It made for some cool shots. Like I thought that some of the battles, like again, I agree completely that they could have just shot it. But like some of like the close cam battle shots with them standing just on the ships were kind of cool. But it was just it felt like B-roll while like the main story was going on.
Absolutely. So the Sith troopers had jetpacks too. It looked like because some of them jetted out and whatever and shot. And so Sith troopers are there. Didn't see anything other than them using guns. Nothing about them using the Force. They were called Sith troopers because I don't know. I thought
their armor didn't
on the toys and stuff. It specifically says they have a background, something to do with the dark side, and then nothing of that came in the movie. So I don't know what it was, but anyway, we had some cool fight scenes, cool explosions, and so Palpatine opens at the door. We see the big battle happening. They're getting destroyed. And he's basically saying, like, you have to join me. You're going to rule all the ships. You'll have command over everything. This is your legacy and birthright, whatever. So we're having this conversation. Kylo Ren lands, right? So
with
as
his blaster.
Yes, with his blaster, because he's not on a lightsaber anymore. So he heads down, and he's killing, I guess, some random guards and stuff, making his way down to her. And so he's like, take out your lightsaber, come towards me, you're going to strike me down. And while he's doing that, there's a couple other guards there. I guess are they the Royal Guards from like episode?
Oh, the red ones?
Yeah, were they? They kind of look like them, right?
Yes, they were.
So they were there, and then the stands looked like they were real people at this point, and they're all cheering or doing whatever they're doing. And so she's heading towards him, and he's just going to strike her down. And then she sees Kylo. At this point, Kylo gets surrounded by the Knights of Ren, and tries to fight them with just using the Force and gets his butt whooped. But it is what it is. And so they kind of see each other. And so she puts the lightsaber behind her back. And somehow, magic trick, is behind Kylo's back.
Well, and that was kind of disappointing. Like, I knew they had to make this high impact thing where once he gets the lightsaber, he's like deadlier. Yes. But like, how
did he get the lightsaber? Because he grabbed the necklace off her. They physically pulled it.
I thought she was going to like throw it.
Magic. No, it was just like, it's behind my back. Oh, it's behind my back. Like, what is this?
But even I was just going to say just how weak he was. Or like how defenseless he was until he got the lightsaber. I thought was not accurate to how much destruction he was doing before, even without his lightsaber.
No, but the Knights of Ren were Jedi. The Knights of Ren were Jedi. Now. The Knights of Ren were Jedi that were trained by Luke that joined him when he destroyed the planet. He said some of them turned and went with him, and then he killed the rest. So the Knights of Ren are technically partially trained. So they're not going to be just soldiers.
Sure.
So that's the only way you could be like, okay, the Knights of Ren are like fallen Jedi, if you will.
But it's like,
but they don't have lightsabers.
After he had behind his back, he pulls it out. It's like, he kind of make a joke. I'd be like,
I don't think in my mind. I think it's like,
because
let's go now.
The guy's going like, what? How did he get that lightsaber?
Yeah, it's like,
but I think the reason why they introduced the whole Force and now they can take things originally, like the first couple times you see it, is for that purpose.
That was
that one moment.
That was it. So it was like,
you can't just have it randomly and be like, oh, how the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
You have to have a couple of instances beforehand to set that up.
And it felt like there was a lot of that in the movie where they were just adding things for setup for something that they just needed to have an excuse for later on.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. So he has this fight scene with them, which again, it wasn't super epic, but it was what it was. And so he ends up going beside Rey, and she's saying like she's not gonna strike him down or whatever. I can't remember, but she basically is like, no, I'm not gonna hate you, or what was the word? I made a joke about like, I love you. He's like, you hate me.
I choose love.
And it's like, I love you.
But
so she stands there with Kylo Ren, and he says, perfect, like both of you came to me, whatever. He knocks their lightsabers back, they fall on their knees, and then he basically says something about their life force or something. There's a special power between them, gives life. So he just starts sucking new force power, whatever, starts sucking their life force, and it literally heals him. His fingers grow back, his face is restored, and he's
which again is another one of those moments where they introduced all this healing to have that. Yeah.
So he's alive and well. His eyes are there, and so then he goes fitting like I'm gonna knock you down shaft, kind of like the way it happened to me or whatever, payback or whatever it was. So he throws Kylo Ren down this hole, this pit.
Yeah.
And Rey's there, and so he kind of sits on the throne, and then he's looking up at the sky, and he sees like the rebel ships are going. At this point, Poe's giving up hope, and he's like, "I'm sorry, guys, I failed you. I don't know what to do now." And then we hear like a very endgame, "Hey, Cap, on your left."
Dude, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. That's it.
I was like, wow, beat for beat.
Lando comes in.
Yeah.
He's like, "There's more of us than them," or whatever his line was.
Yeah.
A line that he had said previously.
There's a lot more of us.
There's a lot more of us than them. And then, now this was a cool shot where they show the Rebel fleet, and it's like every type of shit that you saw from the previous movies and shows, where you got B-wings and Y-wings and A-wings and just everything all scattered. I thought it was a cool shot.
Yeah, you got the 10-4 in there as well.
But yeah,
I was like, all right.
I'm like, this is cool. And then it was like, okay, let's go. So they're all going, and let's take out as many of these cannons as we can. I like the line of each one you destroy is a planet saved. I'm like, that's cool. Okay, let's go. Blah, blah, blah. And then they're taking the guns out like there's no tomorrow. Like they're easy to destroy. Okay, so they're going through.
Always go after the reactors.
And then of course Finn and the chickie's name, their last plan while they're on the Star Destroyer is to aim this turret gun to blow up the bridge to destroy the whole Star Destroyer that's navigating them. Yeah. So they're kind of going to get that ready to go. What's happening now? Palpatine decides to shoot his lightning up using his force power. He's all Sith. He's all whatever. All the Sith are within him. Shoots his lightning up and then just starts lightning everything. All the ships are getting hit. Yeah. Everything's falling from the sky. Everyone's like.
So are we assuming that he's only that strong at that moment because of the life force that he took? Like, because prior to that,
he's like got all the knowledge.
It must be.
Everything
it must be because he's like the last Sith. He's got like all the power of he says like all the other Sith, everything, all the knowledge is coming to me. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
it is what it is. So he massively electrocutes everybody up there, and then Rey kind of gets up. And then he notices this, and I guess stops.
So before that, she's lying down. She has her eyes open, and she's saying, "Be with me."
Sky.
That's right. So,
which was a thing she was trying to do earlier when she was meditating.
Yeah,
and did not feel them.
So she's saying, be with me," and then she's basically reaching out to all the fallen Jedi, I guess. Yeah. And this was a cool moment, I thought. So she reached up, we see the stars, and then we hear the voices of a lot of them. We hear Obi-Wan, we hear
Mace Windu,
Anakin, Yoda, Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson had a line in there, and we just hear a bunch of these Jedis all make comments or to get up, rise, we're here, we're to support you. And so she kind of gets up, and he says, like, all the Sith power with me. So he starts lightning her. She has a lightsaber to deflect it. Yeah. And I don't know, he makes some comment about like you can't win, whatever. And then she says, "I'm all the Jedi" or something, right?
Yeah, he says, "I'm all the Sith," and she's like, "I'm all the Jedi."
All the Jedi.
Yeah. Or
at this point,
me. So
and she's going there, and they're all like panning out. I was so expecting to see like all the Force Ghost Jedi like standing there, or just an image of them like all behind her, like to beat him. There was nothing. I'm like, that was such a missed moment. Yeah. I thought that was a perfect time. Have Hayden Christensen, Mace Windu, like all of them just there. Force Ghosts.
Again, Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Wait for the Blu-ray.
Yeah. But I'm like, but like, it's just a missed moment. They could have done that. They don't have to be like giving her powers. I mean, Luke was clearly affecting stuff, but I mean, just standing there just to show like they're there with her. They're standing behind her, and we can kind of see it, even though she's not looking at them. That would have been such a cool moment. Mm-hmm. Drop the ball there. She gets her other lightsaber. It's Leia's, puts them together, and I think that's the reason why it's blue, so they have the double blue. And then all of a sudden, she just starts walking towards him. I'm like, oh, she's going to behead him. And as she's walking towards him, he just starts like...
And that's what I found.
I
feel like he found a loophole.
His lightning or whatever started to go
reflecting back all of a sudden?
That was the loophole, so that she doesn't kill him. He's killing
he kills himself. And then, but even as she's going, it's almost like you see these like pulses or blasts kind of go through. Did you guys notice that at all? Kind of like she's taking a step or two forward, and you see like this pulse. I don't know. I kind of felt like she was also emitting some sort of energy. I don't know. So she destroys him. He evaporates, dies, whatever you want to say. He's gone.
Or does he?
Or does he?
That's the next 9 movies.
Yeah, exactly.
and then all this of a sudden, is the end of Skywalker and the beginning of Palpatine.
Yeah, that's it. And then what happens?
The rise of
she
Palpatine
destroys him, and then she just collapses. I'm like, what is this? Like, she used all of her energy? She was just blocking the thing. I don't know. I just felt like it just didn't make sense. Like,
maybe it's those waves.
It must be. I'm sending all my
That's your
life force to destroy you. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So she collapses. We have Finn and the chickie girl blow up the bridge. Their Star Destroyer is about to fall.
Yeah.
Poe is gonna try to save them, and then of course Lano's like, "Why your ship's faster?" And him and Chewie gonna go by.
And that whole timeline for me felt like nothingness. It just
Yes.
felt like something that they could cut away to
Yes.
until they cut back to the main thing.
Yes.
I didn't
agree.
care
I agree.
about what was going on because it was happening so easily. It felt like there was no actual struggle there.
Nope.
It's like you said, how easily they were taking out all the guns and everything.
Yeah.
It's like
Which had the capability of destroying a planet.
A planet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like none of those things decided to try shooting the things at the ships or something. I don't know. It just so we're at the end now. So then we see a hand. Kylo Ren climbs himself out of the hole, makes his way over to Rey, hobbles himself over to Rey.
By the way, second funniest part of the entire movie when he like does like a little trip and he goes ow. And like
Yeah.
just kind of keeps going, or like he just.
Oh, that's where he jumped down.
He jumped down onto the thing.
Yeah,
oh,
the
yeah,
chain.
that's what happened. Yeah.
And then
I guess he
has this
doesn't
weird-
have the dark side anymore, so it doesn't
Yeah,
have all the
but then
power.
even how he grabs her,
Heaven
he like
only.
reaches down on her,
Yeah,
and
he,
then
like,
he kind of just falls, and I'm like, what is? What,
Yeah,
just
that
pick
was
her up,
that
like
was an awkward.
He's
And
still,
then-
he's still hurting on this.
yeah. And then I don't know, he somehow uses the same
Yeah.
power and heals her.
Okay, so I had a problem with this.
Okay, same
Okay.
here. Okay.
So you go first.
No, you started.
jump in.
You
Alright,
go.
jump in.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll-
so initially when we first find out that Rey is Palpatine,
Mhm.
the healing capability
made sense.
made sense.
Thank you. Yep.
Mhm.
Because I was thinking about Palpatine, you know,
Plague-
Plagueis and all that
I've got
stuff.
all of that.
exactly. Yep.
and then Kylo, who
Who
all
is
of a
not.
sudden is not even dark anymore or anything like that. Not
Yeah.
not
No blood lineage.
nothing.
lineage of,
It's just
Palpatine.
can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was done to me, so now
So it
I
was the
can
same thing for you.
feel
Yeah.
how it's done.
Did she admit some of that whenever she healed him?
I
Yeah,
don't
they
know, but he talked
Is
about
that
them having
right?
some life force connection. So
Or did she transmit?
other
it
than
through
him
the-
saying
yeah,
that they both have the power, I
Yeah,
don't know.
because she
It
even
just-
heals the snake thing.
Yeah.
Right. So she has that ability.
yes.
Yeah.
Just like I was thinking, just like the lightning, these are some of the traits that
Yeah.
Oh,
kind of
Correct.
followed
Exactly.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
But
Yeah.
so weird.
And then so
No,
he
no, I'm like,
magically
oh,
heals
no,
her
he
without
does?
he just is able to do it, and then it causes him to just collapse.
And then I
he's
turn
gone.
on
Oh wait! You got the best part first.
Go ahead.
The best part.
Go ahead.
Where they look at each other. She wakes
Oh,
up. She
yes.
looks at each other, and then they kiss.
That's right.
and then right after the kiss, he goes, smiles, and then
Dead.
he drops.
I'm like
So-
Romeo and Juliet. What
I
is
found
this?
that kiss weird because I always had that brother sister vibe from them.
Same.
Yes.
But then
So I was
Luke
like,
and
man,
Leia,
this
right?
is just weird.
Yeah.
And then I thought, like, Luke and Leia too. I'm
They
like,
didn't
man,
know.
that- yeah.
It was
they knew
weird.
inside.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
felt like
so I was
Finn.
like-
Finn kind of liked her, and they.
I think
they
that's
had
what
this
he was-
bond, and then it just.
When he was sinking into the pit, that's what I thought.
He was gonna say, like,
originally.
I
He was
love you or
yeah,
something, right?
exactly. Yeah.
I
But then
turned-
maybe he's like, oh, because he has the sense of the force now. Maybe that's what he's like. Oh, I feel, or like I have a feeling, right? Maybe.
Yes, like when Rey died, he felt it.
Yeah, like,
Right?
is,
And I'm like,
is
oh,
that what
no,
you know,
Rey.
is that what you want to tell her? Do you want to tell her that you loved her? Did you want to tell her that I don't have this force sensitivity? Like,
Something.
and we never got that.
So yeah,
Closure to
so
it.
they
Yeah.
had the kiss.
Do you remember what
I
I
think-
said to you? The minute that he passes out, I'm like,
Yes.
now
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
go back
She's
and
20
gonna give
minutes
them back.
of them just dropping and then picking the other one up and then dropping.
Yeah.
And then picking the other one up.
And each time they have a conversation.
So
No,
Luke-
I'm not gonna die. You're gonna live.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live.
It's
God.
like, it's
Damn
like
it.
Endgame where
Yeah.
Hawkeye and Black
That's
Widow
it.
fighting.
Back
and
I'm
forth.
gonna die. No, I'm gonna die. No, let me die.
I guess
So-
he figured he should be dead anyways. 'Cause that she healed him. So
Redemption.
he,
And, yeah,
so
exactly. I
he's-
feel like he needed to do his one good deed to get to
And
like
then
Jedi Afterlife.
And then he-
She didn't even get a chance to
Yeah.
revive him
He
because
force
he
ghosts.
force ghosted
But-
it. He's like, I'm out.
But
Force
up to
ghost.
this point,
Ghosted.
it's in Star Wars canon that they had to learn this ability. Yoda had to learn it from Qui-Gon,
well,
and then-
Force ghosting.
how to force
Yeah.
ghosts, and then
Well,
he teaches it
Qui-Gon
to
had to go
Obi-Wan.
to the planet.
Right, in episode 3, he tells Obi-Wan, like, I have to teach you something, whatever, and he teaches him how to force ghost, because at that point, you've only seen Obi-Wan and Yoda do it, so it had to have been taught. So how did Kylo Ren was never taught this, clearly? He just does
Kylo
it.
was so scared of commitment.
Yeah.
After the kiss, he just Force
I'm
ghosted.
gonna do something. This feels right. I'm out.
God. So she's left alone, and so she takes off, and so they all like, yay, we win, you know, the planet, I guess the main Star Destroyer is dead,
All
Palpatine's
the
dead,
other planets.
so
are
everything else is,
revolving again.
and so the rest of the ships are like done for. They take off, they head back, and we get some cheering and stuff, and we get to see different planets,
Yeah.
aka just like
Ewoks.
episode 1 and stuff flashed by, or sorry, episode 6, they flashed through different planets. We see Ewoks, we see Wicket, we see,
Yeah.
I don't know, just different areas and stuff. And again, this whole like finality of everything is coming to an end. They all land back on the home planet. they're all cheering, whatever. Everyone's looking for their people. So like Finn's looking around and he sees like these people are together, and then he's looking around. And he sees like Rose Tico's hugging Chewie.
Is this the first time we see a lesbian kiss? Or
yes,
some sort of,
officially, yeah. So they had two pilots
PTA.
right in the middle of the camera, like, okay, look, there's the gay
like
couple
the
in
gay
Star
line.
Wars, just so that it's in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was what it was. And then we see Poe has this look up at the bounty hunter chick. Oh, bounty
I
hunter,
thought that was
Spice
hilarious,
Woman.
actually.
And he's
That was
like,
like-
kind of like, you want it? And she's like, no.
Yeah, he's like,
And I was like, he's like, okay. And so I'm like, that was funny. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cute. And then I thought Finn was gonna go with Rose because of the whole like, I love you, and like, nope. They're
I don't know who Finn's with.
I know.
He finished.
Hey.
He
Yeah.
finished his
He's got
own
a
bit.
lot, yeah.
So he goes off and
He's
Rey's-
been Force ghosting.
Yeah.
Did you just say the L word?
We're just friends, eh? That's,
So Rey sees Finn and Poe, and they run and they give a three-way hug, and they're all like buddies and chummy, whatever. And what happens? The girl sits down with Lando, and he talks about like where he's from.
The Gold
And-
District?
Yep,
Yeah.
and he's just
Yellow
like,
District
he's like,
or
where are you from? He's like, I don't know. I was
Yeah.
thinking as a kid. He's like, well, let's find out. I was like, that was the creepiest.
I'm
part.
like, was anybody else creeped out by that?
I was.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was
like,
like, are you seeing
some
what,
sexual-
anyone?
sexual innuendo
Yeah.
coming
What
out,
you
you
don't
know?
see is his hands on her knee. Well, let's find out.
Do they have Me Too in Star Wars?
YouTube moment has a
And so then what happens is everyone's cheering, whatever, and then we kind of go. Rey takes off.
Yeah.
Right, and goes
I guess
on her
some
own.
time has passed or whatever.
Yeah, BB-8's with her.
Yeah.
So leaves Poe, and they go in the X-wing and heads off to Tatooine.
Yeah.
We see her in the Jawa Sandcrawler. She's coming out. So at this point, this is where I draw the conclusion that she got the parts for what we're going to see later. Parts to build something from the Jawas, because there's no crystal on this planet that we're aware of for her to get it. But anyway, she goes to
Unless you
Tatooine.
picked it up beforehand and coming there. Something
yeah.
like that.
So
they don't explain
they don't explain it.
another question that they leave open.
So they arrive. She makes her way down to Luke's homestead,
Mhm.
which, funny enough, was completely burned in episode 4. Torched. The parents were dead. It was torched. And she goes there, and while it's covered in sand, it didn't look torched. It didn't look black burn, nothing. But whatever, they had to end on a nice area. She goes there, jumps in the little scrap metal, just like in the first movie, Force Awakens, slides down the sand, gets inside, then decides she's going to wrap up Luke and Leia's sabers, and then uses some new Force power to just start burying it into the sand.
Yeah.
It's her own.
Well, she sees them.
Sorry.
Did you say that?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, she
she's
doesn't
like-
see
So, yeah,
it.
because
again-
the lady is going to
Oh,
come and
okay.
speak to her, but
Yeah.
she.
I thought it
Oh,
was fitting
right.
that the first time you saw her, or like really the first time she was cabbing, and then she slid down the hill, and then again
Yes.
slides down there. There's a little bit of a symmetry there again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she pulls out this lightsaber that's made from the parts of her staff.
Staff, which I
And-
thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did too. And then she turns it on, and we get yellow. And I was like, yes, finally, a
Now
different
Rey
color.
has yellow.
Yellow, and I was like, yellow double bladed is a famous. There's a lot of
And it
famous
looks like
Jedi
it was a
use-
double bladed because she had the staff.
It looks
right?
like it, and there's a
But
lot of
she-
famous Jedi's that use yellow double bladed. So I thought that was cool how they did that. But yeah, and then some old lady, just some random old lady who's in the desert. I haven't seen anybody here in forever.
I thought she was gonna be somebody
Yeah,
of
so
importance.
yeah.
And then transform and
She just
Yoda.
had like 15 cats on her.
She's like,
It's a crazy
"What's your
cat
name,
name."
sweetie?"
Yeah.
From
Rey.
The Simpsons, just throwing cats at me.
And then she looks.
What's your last
Yeah,
name?
what's your last name? And she looks over and she sees Luke and Leia. Force Ghosts are there,
Ghosts,
and they're there, and she's smiling at her, and she says Skywalker and smiles.
Her
And
adopted
then,
parents.
yeah, and then looks up to the
Two
double
moons.
suns,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the two suns.
and then we cut to black, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like
I feel like she just said
Chris,
Skywalker because she knew she wouldn't get employment.
yeah.
Yeah.
If she said
Palpatine.
Palpatine.
Oh, yeah, burn that Palpatine.
Hitler.
Blacklist. Yeah, blacklist.
So that's cut to black. So that's the movie. So what did you guys think? I mean, we've talked about the movie in detail. I already said I thought that the pink saber should have been done.
Yeah.
They should have had the Force ghosts of all the Jedi there. I thought it would have been way more impactful for that
Yeah,
scene.
I kind of wanted to see like
giving her-
Hayden Christensen coming back,
Yeah,
like some Mace
something.
Windu, some important people.
Yeah, I thought they dropped the ball in some of these scenes. The lightsaber fights were not as great as they could have been. If this being the last movie, they should have had one epic. Sidious could have pulled out a red saber, and they went on it for a while.
There
or
was
something.
Yeah,
there was
the fact that
nothing.
he got all that like youth back,
and it was just
and
like
there was no
lightning,
actual
lightning.
fight.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Just lightning. Like we've seen you have the sabers. You pull them out. Use one. You could have created another one. You've been on this planet for who knows how many years. Like it would have been cool to have this awesome battle. Maybe him against both of them.
That's what I
Right?
thought.
Yeah.
Something, right? So yeah,
And they left a lot of questions open, unfortunately.
Still,
that they
yeah,
could've-
even with the
they could
conclusion,
have ended.
they had a lot of the main points obviously tied up. Where
Yeah,
you
like
needed
who
to know,
Ray
but
was, and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, we don't know who
but
Finn
then
was.
they introduced new things. That were like,
Yeah.
oh, what?
Or the new.
I thought that
girl
him
was-
and the girl were gonna be brother and sister because they were
Yes,
both taken. They were
especially because
both
they were
taken to the
both
thing,
used to be stormtroopers.
and we saw the stormtroopers going to houses and just taking the kids. So they could have both been taken.
Mhm.
She doesn't know who her background is his, so I thought somehow it was gonna. They
It's
both,
gonna be a
they both
Lando
had the
movie.
feeling. Yeah, I don't know. They just left that open. I was like, okay, and then creepy Uncle Lando. We'll find out, sweetie. Don't worry. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean,
I still enjoyed the movie.
Yeah,
I
did.
mean, I also have the bias of being a Star Wars fan.
Yes.
I'm saying like it no matter what. But I thought they did a decent enough job on it. Answered some important questions.
yes.
I think all the
left
important
some
questions that
things.
were there, but they introduced new ones where you're like, but what happens with that then? Like they
Yeah.
introduced it and then you never got that conclusion
Unnecessarily,
to
too.
that.
Like,
So-
I have to tell you something, and then.
And then the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
She actually takes
Was
the
it
name, but
the
she's not a
fall of
Skywalker. So there's
Skywalker?
no Skywalker technically
Yeah.
that's alive. She's just taking the name on.
I actually I enjoyed it as much as like I've enjoyed one of the decent Mandalorian episodes. Like just like a long like nothing. I didn't leave being like that was amazing, but I enjoyed like I got to see lightsabers.
Yes.
Like and that's really what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like the same way. I feel like there was a lot of holes in the plot.
And a lot of things done intentionally for purposes for that one instance.
Exactly.
As well. Yeah.
Another thing that I don't know if it's just me, but even though, like episodes 1, 2, and 3 sometimes get crapped on a little bit, I still feel like Vader being like this figure of darkness for so long and his rise to that, I felt made more sense than Rey's rise to power as the ultimate Jedi for me.
I agree to that. I think we all agree that the plot of the original trilogies was sound. It was the script writing, the dialogue that was garbage. But like
threw it
the
down.
story beats, everything made sense, everything had a purpose. Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, and does that play in because there's originally three different people doing this, right?
Yeah.
3 different directions, and it was
2.
Now it was 2.
Yeah,
In the end,
but
it
yeah.
ended up being 2, but originally it was 3.
Yeah.
Where it was like a mismatch of a whole bunch of things. Like, okay, well then we're gonna do this way, and then okay, they did that, so now we're gonna do this way.
Yeah, I feel like he was like JJ was trying to fix some
of
the
the
Last
things,
Jedi,
the people had.
and he didn't want. I think he wanted to go in a different direction.
So he
And
explained
they
how
kinda-
Leia had the powers, which
Yeah.
is probably his vision all along.
Yeah, I would have liked
Which
to
is
seen
fine.
it like him or somebody do all 3 of them.
Which is
That
what
way
we'll
it
get with
was-
the next trilogy, supposedly.
Yeah,
Correct.
So
Okay.
before we rank it, let's just go touch base on the normal things. Plot. Do we think the movie had a solid plot? I think we all said we agree there's some plot holes and some things that were left unanswered.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, it answered the story, so it came to the conclusion that they wanted to, but it did rise some questions came up that didn't need to be, and weren't filled.
Okay.
And I think we all knew how this was going to end.
Yes.
It was very like you knew the good guys were going to
Oh, of course.
succeed, right?
Yeah.
Now that would have been an ultimate twist where she
Rey
turns
died.
and then that's it. Boom. But I mean, if that's the end of the saga, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, as a plot, I would agree with that. There was a lot of the main points that you wanted from everything was concluded, but then there was a few things they introduced that you never got the answer for.
That's right.
So yeah, that's why it didn't feel like a plot in the standard sense. It just felt like answers,
Tying
to
up loose
things.
ends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. What did you guys think of the CG or graphic CGI? Any big moments that was really horrible other than Leia's face? I guess Leia's face.
Leia, I don't know what that was.
seemed to be
Luke's
the
was
big
pretty darn
one.
good.
Yeah,
Luke's was
I thought
awesome.
so
Yeah.
too. So I'm like, I can't wait to see Leia because they pan to Luke first, and
Yeah.
then they go. I'm like,
Babu Frick looked great.
Yeah.
It was really
Yeah.
funny. The droids, the scenes where they
Battle-
used old footage of Leia, which was filmed in The Force Awakens, and then Rey there and interacting and hugging. I thought everything worked well there.
Mhm.
yeah,
No
Yeah.
issues there.
Yeah.
I didn't have any issues. So I thought overall, with the exception of that big, everything else was pretty decent.
They
From
did
a
such a
Which
good
I
job
don't
with Rogue One.
understand how they did. I was about to say how they
Yeah.
did such a good job with Rogue
Rogue
One,
One.
and then just butchered it. I don't know who that was.
yeah.
It was not Leia.
Someone's getting fired.
Okay, and villain. What do we think of the villain in this movie? Being Palpatine. Was there a strong villain?
He wasn't as strong as he was in Episode 6.
No, I agree.
I mean, he didn't even in the original trilogies. His strength, his mastermind, like
I don't like how they opened with like Palpatine's alive, and his and it was like it would have been better for them to discover that in the movie than just like boom. There's a voice that's been going out. We found out.
I feel like they just threw like
a
quarter of the movie out right into the crawl.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which threw me off right away. I was like, oh,
yeah, I'm surprised.
They're going this way.
As
It's
much
like, okay.
detail we got into that.
All right. So with that being said, it's time to rank the movies.
Oh boy.
Okay, so I'll give you the rank as it stands right now.
Yes, please do.
In 10th place, we have Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. In 9th place, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. In 8th place, Episode 8, The Last Jedi. In 7th place, Solo, A Star Wars Story. In 6th place, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. In 5th place, Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. In 4th place, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. In 3rd place, Episode 7, The Force Awakens. 2nd place, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. And in 1st place, Episode 4, A New Hope. So, I guess we'll start near the bottom here. By a show of hands, how many people think it's better than Episode 1, The Phantom Menace? Better than Episode 2, Attack of the Clones? Better than Episode 8, The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I'll put it over The Last Jedi.
I have a big problem with The Last Jedi. That's
okay.
So for me, tied.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
like as a cop-out answer, as it stands right
They
now.
had great moments. I think I enjoyed Last Jedi better overall. But again, I go there for the lightsaber fights, the force powers, and I just didn't feel like it was right there. I love some of the shots, the planes and stuff, but just like Palpatine, the way he went out.
I felt The Last Jedi had too much filler that was not necessary. Going
I
after that
the Canto
character
Blade.
for nothing. Like that was just like, and
Okay.
like the battling with the ships. It was all for nothing.
So we're 2-2 right now. So it's got to be a majority, right? So we're split even. So how many people think it's better than Solo, A Star
Well,
Wars?
why don't we debate it out? Let's convince each other. Like,
Well, let's see where it stops. So can you two, is it better than Solo, A Star Wars Story?
What's the one after Solo?
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. No.
Maybe above Solo. I mean, Solo was a good movie,
I
but
like
So,
Solo.
so he's saying no.
I
So
love
so
Solo.
it can be above
Yeah,
7.
yeah.
So it's either going to be
I
below
want
8
Solo to be higher
below
up
7.
on that. To be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're both saying that, we think it should be.
I
Should be
think
right
that The
below
Last
Solo?
Jedi is better.
I do, but I also think Last Jedi should be higher on this list. But that's just my personal opinion. So I do think that Last Jedi for me was like I've watched it again multiple times and I enjoy it, and I'm like I'll probably watch this again. But for me, there was times the movie I was kind of like, okay, what's happening? Like, is there anything
there's
big,
slow
interesting?
parts like
Just-
yeah.
Yeah, like let's get to some action, something, and it just
I can tell you, like for me, it like I said, it's tied. The only reason I'm putting Last Jedi above this is because of my expectations on what I wanted this to be as a final movie.
Okay.
yeah, like when you see something like Endgame and how well they did, and this is supposed to be the finale to wrap up all 3 trilogies and everything, and they did a good job on getting certain things done. I just felt like they're just again these moments like. If they did the pink lightsaber, if they had the Force Jedis, things like that just would have made some of these moments that much stronger. I probably would have been like, yeah, definitely a better movie. It just they kind of went a certain way and, like you said, played it safe.
Yeah.
And didn't do something when they could have done. In my
What did,
opinion.
what
I just
did
have
The
a hard
Last
time
Jedi
watching
do
it,
though?
like-
Like what did you get?
That
out
fight
of The
scene
Last
between
Jedi?
Kylo and Rey is by
That
far
was
my
the best
favorite.
part of the movie.
I think
Scene,
that's
I
one
thought
of the
that
few
was
parts I
phenomenal.
actually
Yeah.
Yoda
like. I
showing
have
up.
a tough time watching that movie.
Yeah,
I just
I
rewatched
would
it a
fast
whole bunch of
forward
times,
to
and,
that
like,
battle
I
scene
had
where they
a tough
battled
time
those
getting through
guards.
there.
Yoda
I was on
showing
my
up.
phone for a bit of it, to be honest with you. I was like, I don't.
I thought Yoda
like,
teaching Luke something, even though he's Master Luke, and how he still has stuff to learn, was a really cool moment. That surprise moment with that whole thing.
Yoda kind of bugged me because he was like a jokester, just idiot type in that movie. Like, yeah, I'm just doing this. Turn painters they were. It's like, not really.
Okay,
the book
that's
went really
fair.
on as well, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
and
the purpose of destroying.
No.
I know, yeah.
I just found like it was a typical middle trilogy
Yes.
movie where it's just
Yes.
a filler of just like, oh, let's do some flashing lights and the side story here, but nothing really came out of it. Like,
Okay.
do you feel like you got more out of this movie than like conclusion wise or like story?
Well, I mean,
wise,
it being the end of the
like...
trilogy, we do get some conclusions. I thought the Knights of Ren were way underutilized. What they
Oh,
could
yeah.
have been.
They
They could have
should-
had an amazing
they should
fight.
use
They
that.
dropped the ball
I
there.
agree with that.
I
They should have
expected
used them
some-
in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That whole Last Jedi should have been all about Knights
would
of
have been way
Ren
better.
and like how Kylo's getting more power
Yep.
and Snoke.
See, I would have
And
enjoyed
That
that.
would have been good
I
instead
would've
of having
enjoyed
that
that.
code breaker.
And then Leia training Rey. Now that we know that she was trained, I didn't feel like her training was that great of training compared to like anyone else's. I just thought it was like, okay, running through the
So
trees,
that should have been part
dodging,
of-
like not even hitting the training remote. I'm like, okay, you still have a lot to learn.
Well, the training remote was controlled by Kylo Ren. He
Yeah.
took over that.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
So
I did not notice that.
He took over. That's why she couldn't.
She started getting
She
zapped
couldn't
and
get-
stuff. Yeah.
I didn't even pick that up.
Yeah.
Neither
And that's why she
Neither
kind of had
did
to
I,
go.
actually, to be
She had
honest
to
with you.
kind of go
I missed it.
outside of Jedi.
Yeah,
tricks.
so
I thought she was just
drew
getting.
it
I
and
just
then
thought she was
used
getting
the
angry,
stick
and she
to-
like noticed the presence. And she started getting angry, and that's
Well,
why she couldn't
Kylo.
hit.
That's why they kept going back and forth from Kylo because he was like feeling where she was and like he took control of that.
Hmm.
I didn't pick up on
droid.
that.
Interesting. I knew that it tripped her. I just thought it was. Like,
Yeah, so he
kinda
tripped
take
her
it,
and then
yeah.
like took control of it, and then
Yeah.
once she destroyed it, his connection was broken.
And then with her, like the lightsaber, a whole Jedi's path, we know that is like to become a Jedi, to be a Jedi Knight, you have to build your own lightsaber. That's like the last step in the process. And then her going to the Jabba's, getting the pieces that she needs.
Have we seen anyone build their lightsaber
Well,
in any of the movies?
In the shows, we definitely do.
Yeah. But
the
none
movies,
of the
no, we don't
movies,
see
none of the
any of it
episodes.
actually
Yeah.
Not
build
one
them.
of them.
No.
Luke has his, like in Return of the Jedi, he was a Jedi Knight, but all of a sudden had his. They didn't show how
That's
he
true.
built it or anything.
But I mean,
like that.
we know that that's part of the journey.
We also
the
know
canon
that
and all that
by
stuff.
that standard, like Kylo can't build one for crap. It's all
Clearly.
like jagged.
Yeah,
It doesn't
clearly.
Loose wires.
Yeah.
jagged,
Was that a
broken.
Sanyo?
good enough. Okay.
Yeah, two at the side. That looks fine.
So better than Last Jedi then for you?
I would say better than Last Jedi, but under Solo.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay.
I think in a funny way, we're kind of all
Almost
saying
on the same thing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
a lot of our issues are like they're tied to one another, where it's like going
They
from
both had
the
gaps.
flow of a 2 to a 3 we
Yeah.
don't like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Mike's like, stupid movie.
I'll put it here. That's
The final screen that's up here is going to be like, oh, somehow.
Hey, or else these two
Yeah.
idiots.
This is the Blu-ray version, and I made a little edit on my own.
Is there any other scenes or anything that you really liked about the movie that you thought was really well done?
Well,
that
I
we
like-
didn't mention.
I liked the music a lot. I
The
thought-
music was well,
especially
the score
with
was
the
done.
temple where it has the and it just felt like that eerie feeling,
Yep.
and you're like, oh, okay, this really set the tone for where how it looked and how it felt,
Yeah, I agree with
and
that.
just with the obviously the rest of the score as well. I thought it was fitting towards the shots. Right, I think he did a really good job with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right.
I liked hearing the other Jedi voices. Some I didn't recognize.
I did love
It would have
that.
been nice having like pictures.
That's what
or,
would've
like,
been
some
cool to
sort
have
of
the Force
reference
Ghost
to
in.
them. But I still like that they got new voice from these actors. Like the real actors came
Yes,
back and
Liam
did new
Neeson,
lines and stuff
Samuel
like that.
Jackson,
For that.
Hayden
Yeah.
Christensen.
Yeah.
They all
But
came
they
in.
could have utilized it more. But I did
Yeah,
like
like
that
Yoda.
they did bring it in.
Yeah.
So it was a love-hate for me.
Yeah. There wasn't a single point in this movie where there was an attempted reveal at something that I was like not once. And I felt like they kept trying.
What about the Palpatine review when they officially said that you're Palpatine? Did you expect that at all?
It's not so much that I expected that. It's just like expected and accepted it are the two different things.
Yes.
It was more just I was like, okay, so that's what we're doing with this. Again, it didn't have that big impact for me.
Like the Luke, I'm your father bit. It's, like,
It's not
what?
Yeah.
And then this one's like, you're Palpatine. It's like,
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, they're going that way. Interesting, okay. And kind of let's see how it draws itself out. And then
Yeah.
it didn't really
And
answer
I
stuff
kept
properly.
finding myself actually hoping that it was
it
just
was
like
fake. It was
yeah,
like
it
a
was just them
lie,
trying to
like
mess
a-
with her.
Yeah. Like,
Because-
like, oh, if you think you're Palpatine, you'll join me and go attack
exactly
him.
because if they had it so that she was parentless, then technically her origin is just like Anakin's. Like could have been birthed from the Force or whatever the case is, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right, so here are the official Nerds Talk Star Wars ranking. So at first place, we have Episode 4, A New Hope. At second place, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. At third place, Episode 7, The Force Awakens. At fourth place, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And at fifth, we have Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. In sixth place, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. In seventh place, Solo, A Star Wars Story. In eighth place, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. In ninth place, Episode 8, The Last Jedi. In 10th place, in 10th place, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And in 11th place, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So there you have it, folks. You heard from us what we thought about the movie. But we'd like to hear your thoughts. Why don't you drop us a comment below? Let us know what you liked about the movie, what you didn't like about the movie, whether you agree or completely disagree with our opinions. Let us know your official final ranking of where you feel that the movie should sit. If you'd like to support us, please subscribe to our channel. And you can also shoot us an email at nerdstalkinfo@gmail.com to suggest any other movie series or games or anything else you'd like us to discuss. And as always, friends, Stay nerdy.